In my inner self, my strength was unbending. I was never gonna let anybody make me feel that I was not top shelf.
Jim Brown demanded his dignity. He wanted the same respect off the field that he got on the field.
Jim always fought back. And we're better as a nation and as a people because he fought back.
Boy, you'd hear him say it over and over and over. This is our play, this is what we wanted, you know, we called for it, let's go get it, you know, that kind of thing, and always upbeat, but always pushing.
Jim Brown was a great man who just also happened to play a great game of football.
I don't know if you remember watching the Hall of Fame game, and the late, great John Madden said, you know, when the lights go out inside the hall at night, those busts talk to each other, right? Well, if you've walked through the hall, and if you haven't, you better, you're reminded of the true greatness. And what if we could have seen a day when one of these great legends played against one of these great legends? There's a Hall of Famer to be in the class of 2023, Chuck Howley. And I thought it was appropriate today, I should say, to share this quote that Chuck had about Jim Brown. It was in Jim's obituary in the New York Times. Chuck Howley said about Jim Brown, quote, "I had one of my best days. I made almost as much yardage as he did riding on his back." The best of the best try to bring down Jim Brown and oftentimes failed. But could you imagine if you closed your eyes and we could see Jim Brown try to get tackled by a two-time Super Bowl champ, a Super Bowl MVP, a first ballot Hall of Famer who had a 17-year career and had a very similar impact and path as Jim Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, Pro Football Hall of Famer Ray Lewis.
Wow, incredible. Monique, I love you. To the entire Brown family, my goodness, the days that we've had. To whom much is given, much is required. Many are called, few are chosen. I'm talking about meeting the complete man, not the perfect man, but the complete man. 23 years ago, 2000, my son was 5 years old. If I had a choice today, if I had a wish, I would ask God to give me one more conversation with my son and Jim. So this is my conversation. When Jim walked up to me at the Super Bowl in Tampa, and they said, Jim Brown is here, and Spike Lee is here, and Hank Aaron is here. And I was like, wow, who they here? What, they here to see us? And Jim Brown walked up to me. And anybody know Jim? Jim is engaging, like he comes into you. He wants you to feel him. And Jim looked at me and he said, man, you didn't want none of this. Great. I mean, it's so awesome to meet you, Jim. I mean, you're running through walls and stuff, you know? I'm like, just getting my career started. But something that I found out very quickly about perseverance through the things that they had to go through back then, that a black man could not shower in the same showers, that because of his skin color, the things that he had to fight and continue to fight, but his persistence to never be different than another man. I sat with this man hour after hour. I remember, Monique remember this, John Wooden remember this. A few years later, Jim came to the house, and I'm like a little kid. I'm like, man, Jim Brown is in my house. And he comes up and he says, I've studied you for 12 years. And I said, Jim Brown has studied me for 12 years? But what Rock was talking about, Jim Brown had a vision. The good book says, without a vision, thou people shall perish. Jim Brown had a vision that every man is equal, regardless of his economics, regardless of his skin color, regardless of where he comes from. Jim Brown walked that. Jim Brown lived that. Empowerment, Jim Brown took authority. You didn't have to give him authority. He took that. And when a man makes up his mind to take something, be careful to be on the receiving end of that. I've never met a greater person. I've never met a greater person. All I used to do, Monique, she used to laugh so much at me and Jim because of the wars we would get into. And I had this rule. Because of who he was, I would always sit on the couch. He would sit on the couch and I would sit on the floor and I would look up at him. And everything that Rock talking about, I asked Papa, I said, Papa, teach me. Teach me. What does it mean to love your enemies in spite of? Teach me what does it mean to not want to go back and do something in the streets or be a part. Teach me how I teach others. Fathers and sons, it's time to get back together. Y'all can play with it. But when you lose somebody like this, God is only giving you a small piece of what does it mean to raise a God. Jim Brown was a walking God, an angel that God empowered. I called him Papa. His belief system. He sat me down one night, me and Monique, we was in the house, and I ain't leave there till 4 o'clock in the morning. And he taught me about the power of belief. What does it mean when everything is against you and you find your greatest ability to keep getting up? I want to change it a little bit, because the good book says that when a child comes into this world that we should mourn. And when a legend like him go home, we should rejoice. This man will not only be remembered, he will be rejoiced in the hearts of Rock and every gang member and every Hall of Famer and everybody who's ever felt any type of racial tension. God is always equal. God don't see color. Jim don't see color. I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm gonna let you go. God created a man of God, an icon, a culture icon, an activist, an athlete, an actor, a husband. And the greatest thing that ever came from any of that, Rock said it clearly, he became fathers to the fatherless. He gave hope where there was no hope. Our rule, we have a rule, every man in here. I challenge every Hall of Famer in here today. Jim don't die in vain, because fathers got to get back with their sons, and you got to sit with them and you got to teach them the way. Because this world ain't gonna teach it to him. This man committed his life to this. And now it's our turn. Young men, talk to more men than you play on social media. I promise you. I never forget the last conversations, Monique, we at the house. And I come in there and he's on his walker and he come around the corner. And soon as I look up, I'm like, he's gonna say something smart to me every time. So I'm kind of bracing myself just in case he wanna come off the walk and give me a little punch. So I'm kind of bracing myself. And I said, Papa, okay. I said, here we go. You starting this mess again. Here we go. He walked up, he said, if I put this walker down, I still don't think you can stop me from getting a yard. I say, Monique, would you please get your husband, please? This guy. But it was leaving you with who he was. A lot of fathers truly believe it's what you can give your children that will make you happy. It's not what you can give your kids. It's what you can leave your kids. You leave your kids hope, faith, love, promise. Jim Brown. A lot of people are trying to figure out ways to go to the moon. Papa, if you don't do nothing else, whisper to my son and let him know I'll see you both real soon. God bless you.